you. This is incredible. An Ontario County nonprofit. Over Horizon high altitude balloons.
3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, good morning. I guess it's still morning. Good morning to everybody here. Tori here from Overlook Horizon. We are live this morning, soon to be afternoon here for SpaceX's launching of the CRS-19 commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station. This is the second attempt here. We had a partial attempt yesterday, but it was scrubbed pretty early in the countdown process due to upper level winds being pretty high, which we'll take a look at here in just a couple of minutes, and also some rough sea conditions for the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship that is out there to catch the first stage booster for the Falcon 9 rocket. So we are here. It's looking a lot better today. The launch director just gave the go for propellant loading just literally like 2 minutes ago, just before we went live here, which is a great sign. Usually once they start loading propellant into the rocket, it means they are really going to give this a try here today. So not that they didn't give it a try yesterday, but we didn't even get to the propellant loading point yesterday before they scrubbed it and decided to push it off till today. But as I mentioned, looking good, looking better for today. I still have a little bit of slight concerns about upper level winds, but it sounds like they don't have nearly as much of a concern as they had yesterday. So hopefully we should be in good shape. So hello to everybody. Thanks for joining us here. We're simulcasting here on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and over on our Twitch channel. So whichever one you happen to like here. We will do some giveaways here a little bit later. We'll talk about that in a minute. So make sure you stick around after launch if you want to win a couple of prizes that we're going to give away later. So just want to say hello to everybody. I see Tyler, William, John over on the YouTube channel. Of course, our moderator, Gregorius, correcting people on the spelling of my name. Gregorius has it right. Yep, Tori with a Y. Then I see some of our friends over on the Periscope channel, like Jeff and Seahawk and City Flyer and Ron over on the Facebook page. So hello to everybody and good morning. Thanks for joining us here this morning for this launch. This is hopefully going to be a December to remember for a good reason, because there are a lot of launches on track for December. We've got this one here to kind of kick it off. We've got the SpaceX in-flight abort test that will hopefully be coming up here shortly, hopefully in December. We don't really have a date for that yet that I know of. We've also got Boeing's CST-100 Starliner, their demonstration mission. It's kind of like the Dragon's Demo 1 mission that was way back in March this year. They are doing their demonstration mission for their crew capsule, the Starliner capsule. That's coming up, I want to say, I think it's on the 19th now. It was originally scheduled for the 17th, but I think they pushed it, I want to say the 19th now. They were going to do a wet dress rehearsal today for the Starliner capsule, which is now integrated to to United Launch Alliance's Atlas rocket. But because of the SpaceX CRS mission, that takes priority, and they can't have two basically can't have two engine firings or two hazards going on adjacent launch pads on the same day like that. So you got fuels and propellants and things like that. The range won't allow them to do that on two pads at the same time for hopefully obvious safety reasons. So they had to push that off. They're going to do that another day, but they were originally supposed to do that wet dress rehearsal today. So let's see. What else was where people say they scrubbed the launch here at Vandenberg Air Force Base. This is you might be talking about a different one, but we are launching from Florida today. So all the CRS missions launch from Florida. This is a little bit of a different mission though, because this typically a CRS mission, which we can kind of jump right into this and take a look at it here now. Let's see. Let me get my map here pulled up, and I'll show you what we're talking about here. So we're launching from the east coast of Florida here. This is Cape Canaveral. This is going to be Launch Pad 40 or Slick 40 or Space Launch Complex 40. And we're going to be launching to the northeast. Why? Because we're trying to catch up with the International Space Station. This is a resupply mission for the space station. So we got to go in the same orbital plane that the space station is going in, which also means today is an instantaneous launch window. They have a 1 second launch window. They got to hit it right on the money. If they have to hold or have any sort of issues at all, whether that's weather related, ground systems related, or issues with the rocket itself, there will not be another opportunity today to launch the rocket. They will have to push that off to another day. But we're launching to the northeast, and now typically for CRS missions, they would generally turn these around and bring it back to land the first stage down here. So this is the launch pad up here, this red little pin. That's Slick 40, and they would typically turn the first stage booster around and land the first stage, the Falcon 9 booster, down here at LZ1. But they are not doing that today. It was a little bit of a mystery for a little while, but they actually have the drone ship out at sea, which is over here. That's the blue pin there. The drone ship is out at sea, and they will be landing the first stage out of the drone ship. And that is because they are going to do a thermal demonstration for their second stage. So what that means, typically what they would do, they would launch the rocket, separate, first stage would turn around, spend a lot of fuel to come back and land back on land near the launch site there. But this thermal demonstration, what they're trying to demonstrate is the Falcon 9's capability to send satellites directly into geostationary Earth orbit. And what that means is they have to launch, then they have to coast for a long time, for like 6 hours, and then reignite the engines. They typically don't do that for most of their payloads. Usually they're, maybe a 30-minute coast, a 1 hour coast. A 6 hour coast is much longer than they do for most of their launches. Today's launch, the second stage, they're going to release the Dragon I think it's 8 minutes after launch, so it's only a few minutes after launch that the second stage is done with its responsibilities. But what they want to demonstrate today is that they could get a satellite directly into geostationary Earth orbit by launching it, coasting for a really long time, and then reigniting the engines after that 6 hour coast. And in order to do that, they need to save some fuel in the second stage. So they have to burn the first stage longer, 13 seconds longer, in fact. So they're going to go 13 seconds longer on the first stage. That does not leave them enough fuel in the first stage to come back and go back to the landing zone. So they're actually going to do a short boost back burn just to prevent it from going too far down range, which is actually what this safety hazard here is. But they're going to do a short boost back burn, and then they are going to land it on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. So yesterday's scrub was for upper level winds and also some rough seas that were out there on the drone ship that, of course, I Still Love You was running into. So let's see. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything that we were talking about there. So we did mention. I could pull this up here so we know what we're looking at. And just so you know, in case you haven't watched one of the live streams before, we will have the SpaceX live stream up once they do go live, which is still about 10 minutes from now. They'll go live about somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes prior to launch. So we've got the countdown timer going up here. This is a rough idea. I think it's actually about like 25 or 28 seconds off. So this is just a rough idea. I just quickly put it up there so you have an idea of when launch is going to be. So we got about 25 minutes to launch. Once SpaceX comes up, I'll hide this and you'll get the actual countdown from them. That'll be up, obviously right on the money. So let's take a look at yesterday's wind conditions that caused us to scrub. Let's see, I don't want to show you that yet. I'll show you this. Okay, so wind conditions for yesterday. This is at the 3,000 meter level. Not looking too bad over Cape Canaveral, about 36 miles an hour. But if you went up a little bit higher into the upper level winds here, right around 30,000 feet, we had some serious winds going on yesterday. 130, 140 mile per hour winds, especially along this track here that the Falcon 9 is going to take. So we were hitting 140 mile per hour winds. And the problem with that is the wind shear. It's the fact that you're going from 30 mile per hour winds into 140 mile per hour winds. I mean, that just causes so much stress on the rockets that they can't launch through winds like that. I mean, typically, I want to make a video about this at some point, but I don't know if you can see. Of course, it's a green. It's a green pencil I was going to show you. It's completely green screens out from the thing back here. I don't think I can't show it to you. Okay, well, my demonstration completely failed because I failed to realize this is a green pencil. But anyways, when the rocket is launching and going through those upper level winds, if the winds start to push the rocket off course, the engines start to correct, and you can actually get this like torquing sensation here where it's, you know, trying to rebound itself. It doesn't really work with this metal pen. I was going to show it to you with a pencil. Maybe I can show it to you against my shirt. But anyways, the engines are trying to push it one way and the wind's trying to push it the other way, so it can kind of flex and bend like this, which is not good for the rockets. That's why wind shear like this is so hazardous for rockets. But that's what we had yesterday. This was yesterday's launch time. Today, looking a little bit better. You can still see color-wise, doesn't really seem the case, but we're down to about we're like 80, 90 mile per hour winds, which is still not something you'd want to have like at home, but the rocket has a little better capability to fly through this type of wind, and it's only through there for a short amount of time because it generally lofts up and over those upper level winds. So the problem is these upper level winds happen at max Q. So at max Q you have air pressure that the rocket is pushing through. It's going very fast, and you have these fast winds. I mean, that's why the area of maximum dynamic pressure, or max Q, is such a critical point in a rocket launch, because you have all those three factors coming together. And so when I mentioned earlier that I'm still a little bit concerned, I mean, we still have really high winds here. I mean, these are almost 100 miles per hour, but it should loft over those pretty quickly. So hopefully we're only dealing with these upper 80 mile per hour winds, which is not nearly as bad as 140 mile per hour winds that we had yesterday. So that's what we were dealing with yesterday there. Hey, mister, have a great broadcast. Really looking forward to returning to KSC. That's my buddy Chad that I met down at CRS. What were we there for? CRS-17. CRS-17. We were down there together watching that launch. So, let's see. Green screen failed just like NASA. Right. I don't think wind when they launch. I think rain, sun, fog. So thanks about reminding. Yeah, the wind is always a forgotten thing. So that's always troublesome for them. So Deborah over on Facebook says, hello, friends. City Flyer, what's your job with the mission? My job is to live stream with you, and I am not connected with SpaceX in any way or NASA in any way. So we're a nonprofit organization here. We're just trying to get people excited about space flight and space and things like that. But don't get me wrong. I would love to be part of the mission, but I am not part of the mission in any way. All right, so let's see. We mentioned why we're doing the drone ship landing. So that's a little bit different today. Why we're not doing the return to launch sites. That would be a typical here. Aside from that, the launch itself is going to be a pretty typical resupply mission. And actually, oh, here we go. This is what the other thing I was going to show you guys. Hold on, gotta get it pulled up. But today is the exactly 1 year anniversary from the big CRS-16 water landing. So if you recall, exactly 1 year ago today, to the day, 1 year ago today, we had the CRS-16 mission. It was doing exactly the same thing, except that one did return to do a return to launch site landing back on land. However, did not go so well. So as it came back, one of the grid fins actually got locked in a side position there, and it started spinning uncontrollably, and you can see it kind of coming down sideways, and it actually ended up making a water landing. Did not land on land, landed in the water. That was not planned. It was not supposed to happen, but it is part of the safety procedures. So I guess it's like a controlled failure. So it was planned in the sense that if something goes wrong, this is what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to do this if something goes wrong. But that was exactly 1 year ago today that happened. And basically it was one of these grid fins here, which we'll take a look at here. We'll put that up. So basically one of the grid fins, the one over on the right-hand side, not this one, but the one way over there, I can't point to it, but the one way over there is, you can see it's locked over in the side position there, causing the rocket to spin uncontrollably. And those grid fins are actually what help push the rocket to the landing site. It's actually, the rocket targets the water, and then the grid fins help loft it to the landing site. So if the grid fins fail there, or anything else fails, they can land it in the water, not endanger the launch pad, any of the launch infrastructure, people, things like that. So yeah, 1 year ago today, we had this incident. This was CRS-19 exactly a year ago. So hopefully we don't have anything like that again. Yeah. I do like looking at this footage here from the onboard rocket, even though there's a couple of other things. If you haven't seen them yet, I can't show them to you because they're not my videos and they're not SpaceX's videos, but there's a bunch of YouTube videos out there, especially if you look at like NASA Spaceflight or Kerbal Space Academy's YouTube videos. They were there on site, and I like listening to their reaction to it, because they were like, they're looking at it and they're going like, wow, it's roll. They don't know what's happening in real time. They're just like, wow, it's rolling. Why is it rolling? Meaning it's, the rocket is rolling. And they're like, why is this happening? And just listening to them be surprised by what's happening was very interesting to watch. I recommend it. If you haven't seen their YouTube videos, I would definitely go check that out. So SpaceX has come online. They haven't actually started talking yet, but we will get. We'll switch over to that in just a moment here. Was there anything else big? I guess the other big thing that Gregory says the SpaceX stream has started. It has not started here on my end. Maybe I'll refresh. Mine's behind, maybe. Yeah, mine's just at the intro card. There's where you see it right there. I guess you could see. Oh wait, you can't see that. No. Well, there. Now you can see it. That's what I was trying to point to. That's what I see on my end. This is the SpaceX stream. That'll be up in just a minute. We'll get that switched over here. Sneezy Cobra says, I think I just broke every traffic violation getting home from work to see this. Glad to see the dedication there, Sneezy Cobra. Let's see. Somebody asking. I see somebody said it takes a while to get your button. I would say I didn't see your comment, but if you were a winner on the last broadcast, I have not sent out the prizes yet from the last broadcast, but they will go out shortly. I'll probably send them out all at the same time with today's stuff. So hopefully those will go out maybe like next week. Let's see. Ron, I have everybody's. I didn't see. Oh, there it is. Last time I won a button, send my address, but here, yeah. So Ron, I have everybody that won. I have all their contact information. I don't recall them all off the top of my head, but I received everybody's contact information. They will be going out, so there isn't anybody that I'm missing. So those will go out. They probably won't go out until late next week. So, let's see. Alex Ziggy full can't stay for the launch. Bummer. Stage 2 LOX loading has started. Hope it goes before my wife gets home from work. Yeah, we should. Well, it's an instantaneous launch window, so it's got to go at about 15 minutes from now. So there's no opportunity to delay or anything like that, except for to delay to another day. Let's see, what else did I miss here for comment? When's your next balloon launch? Yeah, so we will be our next balloon launch won't be till the spring, so probably won't be like March, April time frame. We don't launch this time of year, specifically because of the winds, like we just looked at. They're too strong. We'd be chasing them very far downrange in the wintertime. So when the winds start to calm down, we'll get back into that in the springtime. So it looks like they're starting here. I'll switch over to that. Let me see if I missed any others just real quick. Somebody wrote in, oh, that's Sevi Time Waster, wrote in a different language. I don't understand that. How's your balloon program? Yeah, so, I mean, we're kind of on, the last thing we did was the Vegas Golden Knights, but we'll do more in the springtime. All right, let's switch over.
14 p.m. Eastern Time on December 5th.
Oh, we're gonna need some volume.
A live view of Cape Canaveral Space Launch Complex 40, where a Falcon 9 is about to launch a Dragon spacecraft. Liftoff is targeted for 12:29 p.m. Eastern Time or 5:29 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time. I'm Alex Siegel, a Dragon material planner here at SpaceX. It is great to be here with you to cover the 19th Commercial Resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. Today's launch window is instantaneous, as is the case with all cargo resupply missions to station. We are at T-minus 13 minutes and 53 seconds and counting, with all systems currently go before our Cape Canaveral and at SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California. So let's take a closer look at today's Falcon 9 and Dragon spacecraft. Today we will be delivering more than 5,700 pounds of cargo to the ISS, including critical materials to support numerous science and research investigations that will occur on board the orbiting laboratory. We'll have more detail on that research later in today's webcast. This will be SpaceX's 12th launch this year, and we'll be launching a flight-proven Dragon spacecraft today for its third mission. It previously flew on CRS-4 in September 2014 and CRS-11 in June 2017. Both Falcon 9 and Dragon were designed with reflight in mind, so the vehicle hardware is built to support multiple missions with minimal refurbishment in between. Today we will be flying a brand new booster and recovering it on our autonomous drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, for use on future missions. And above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the space station.
Hey there, I'm John Federspiel, Dragon Engineering Manager here at SpaceX, and I am thrilled to be here joining you for today's launch. If you just joined us yesterday, we stood down because of expected high winds during both ascent and at the recovery ship. Today, however, the weather is much improved with about 10-mile-per-hour ground winds, and we're looking great for an on-time launch. We're sitting about T-minus 12 minutes right now, and the SpaceX team is working no significant issues at the moment. Taking a step back, we conducted the go, no-go poll at T-minus 38 minutes, and propellant loading began shortly thereafter. Right now, our fuel, rocket-grade kerosene called RP1, is fully loaded on second stage, and we're topping off the first stage. Liquid oxygen loading is underway on both stages. We're about 75% full on first stage. We're going to continue loading liquid oxygen up right until the final 2 minutes of the countdown. We're also loading helium gas into both stages. Falcon 9 uses helium as a pressurant to backfill the stages as the tanks are emptied during ascent. Today we're flying Dragon. That's what you see in the screen right here. Dragon also reporting all systems go for today's flight. It's currently undergoing final vehicle health checks, with its next big event coming up at T-minus 8 minutes when the spacecraft will transition to internal battery power. Our last two wet indicators for the day, range ready to support. As I mentioned before, weather green for today's mission. And so with launch, Falcon 9, Dragon, and range all go for the flight at T-minus 10 minutes and 55 seconds. All systems are go at Cape Canaveral.
Good to hear.
Our Dragon spacecraft has been making trips to the space station for 9 years now, and today it's still the only vehicle flying that can deliver significant cargo both to and from the orbiting lab. In 2010, SpaceX became the first private company to send a spacecraft to orbit and return it to Earth. Just 2 years later, in 2012, Dragon became the first privately developed spacecraft to visit the space station. Since then, SpaceX has made a total of 20 trips to station, and we're under contract with NASA for a total of 26 cargo resupply missions. This morning, Dragon will be carrying dozens of research payloads to the space station, including within the trunk the Hyperspectral Imager Suite, or HISUI, and a replacement battery for the space station's use. Once on station, HISUI will be removed from the trunk and deployed on the Japan Experiment Module for 3 years, where it will regularly image the Earth to observe environmental changes for scientific purposes. Let's take a look at some of the groundbreaking research that will be aboard the CRS-19 mission.
Sorry, I forgot to turn my microphone back on, but they've got some music playing. So because of the music, I'm not going to be able to let you hear the audio of this, but I'll keep it on the screen so at least you can keep an eye on it and what's going on. I'm going to try to talk while they're talking in my ear. That's a really difficult thing to do. But one of the things I thought was interesting that they mentioned on there, I don't want to show it to you now because you won't be able to see what's going on here, but they did mention that they scrubbed yesterday because of high winds at sea, which I thought it was rough seas, but maybe it was high winds at sea. And actually I looked at the wind map that we had up earlier, and those winds were actually pretty high. I can't talk while this is in my ear. He's talking to me and I can't talk to you. But the winds were actually pretty high at sea, even the lower level winds. So that could have been one of the reasons as well. Generally, they don't completely scrub a mission because of conditions at sea, but if they have the opportunity to save the first stage of the rocket and actually launch, what am I trying to say? If they have the opportunity to save the first stage rocket and they have the schedule, that's what I'm trying to say. They have the schedule opportunity to move it, just by a day and not really impact the mission, then they could, looks like they will take that opportunity. So, sorry, my thing is behind me and I'm still hearing him talk. I probably ought to just mute it so I'm not hearing it, but then I won't hear them come back. So anyways, yeah, the winds, even lower level winds out at sea were pretty rough yesterday, it looks like. And I looked at the sea conditions, which were also pretty rough. So it looks like today, though, everything is green, weather looking better. I didn't watch a couple of videos this morning, didn't see anything for the cloud cover wise that they'd have to scrub for. It doesn't seem to be any like precipitation or anything like that. My only concern was just those upper level winds again. But even looking at the map yesterday, there wasn't a ton of wind shear. There was still wind shear there. I guess the minor wind shear plus the conditions at sea led them to scrub yesterday. But still a little, tiny bit of wind shear today, but not nearly as much as yesterday. So looks like it's going to be okay, and I have a good feeling about this launch. So hopefully we'll see that, and then give you an idea on what we're going to do coming up. We'll watch the launch. They're going to deploy Dragon. We'll wait for that to happen, and the solar panels to deploy, and then we're going to give away some beach balls. Got a couple of beach balls that we're going to give away here. So let's switch back to what they've got to say.
Dragon will take up to the space station. You can follow @space_station on Twitter for more information on the exciting microgravity research happening on the station. Today kicks off one of the busiest times in the history of the Dragon program, with exciting events happening for both Dragon 1 and 2. The action really started last month, where we successfully static fired all 8 Super Draco engines on our in-flight abort test vehicle, meeting all test requirements. At full throttle, these engines together can generate over 120,000 pounds of thrust to safely propel Dragon away from Falcon 9, and the event abort is required. Successful completion of that test was a key milestone for both the SpaceX and NASA teams, as it demonstrated the upgrades to the Super Draco system in response to the test anomaly we experienced earlier this year. The team is now performing minor refurbishment to that capsule to prepare for the actual in-flight abort test targeted for February of 2020. Following a successful test, we'll move forward with launching humans, slated also for the first quarter of next year. Now, bringing it back to today's launch, we're sitting about T-minus 6 minutes and counting for an on-time launch to the International Space Station at 12:29 p.m. Eastern Time. In these final few moments, Falcon 9 is performing the last health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. The good news is, as we're looking through these checks, all systems remain go for today's flight. About a minute and a half ago, we began chilling in the engines of both the first and second stage vehicles. That's where we flow a small amount of liquid oxygen to the 9 Merlin 1D engines in the first stage to begin cooling them down to prepare them for full flow at ignition. This is why you start to see a white cloud form at the base, and now you see one closer in the inner stage as that liquid oxygen is boiling off into gaseous oxygen. As of right now, we're sitting completely full of fuel on the first and second stage and continuing to top off liquid oxygen on both stages. This is going to lead us
up to these final few fueling moments, up to T-minus 1 minute, where Falcon 9 is going to take over the countdown process and enter into the startup mode, which will guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. Listen in at T-minus 45 seconds, where you're going to hear the SpaceX launch director give us the final go for launch. And finally, a few seconds before ignition, before liftoff, the engines will ignite, leading to T-minus 0, where we will have the rocket be released from the hold-down clamps, and you will see the strong back retract away from the rocket, clearing the way for F9's ascent. We're taking Dragon today. It's also performing its final health checkouts. Its earlier transition to internal power went smoothly, and so it is all ready to go for today's flight to the space station. Range remains go for today's launch. No tracking, no issues. Weather also looking beautiful at Cape Canaveral. And so with about T-minus 4 minutes right now, we're actually going to go silent on our side at the webcast here and let you enjoy these final few moments before liftoff of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral.
All right, so that'll give me a chance to chat it up here for a minute. You can hear the SpaceX cafeteria going on in the background. I'm sure we'll hear some plates and knives and forks getting dropped at some point. That's usually pretty typical for the SpaceX broadcast here. Where they do the SpaceX webcast is right above their cafeteria area. So that's why you hear all this noise and stuff in the background from SpaceX. But yeah, he mentioned the in-flight abort is not scheduled until February 2020, which is actually quite a bit later than we all kind of thought that was going to happen. Originally, most people were thinking the in-flight abort was going to happen in like October, November time frame, and then it kept getting pushed out, and then we thought maybe later this month that they might do in-flight aborts, but now it looks like it's going to be February 2020 when they do in-flight aborts. And then he did say they want to send crew first quarter of 2020, which doesn't leave them a lot of time. If they want to hit the first quarter, they have to launch by March 2020. So they'd be launching crew like a month later. I don't know if they can fit that tight of a timeline. I thought we'd have in-flight aborts like later this month and then launch crew March 2020. But looks like they're still going to try to get crew launched by March 2020. We'll see if that actually happens. But SpaceX and Boeing, obviously, in a tight competitive race to try to get their crew capsule to be the first to launch crew to the space station. So it'll be interesting to see how Boeing's Starliner launch, their demo flight, goes in just like a little over 10 days from like 2 weeks from now, basically.
HISUI loss is closed out.
So anyways, we are getting ready here for launch. Weather's good, range is good, instantaneous launch window. All the smoke that you're seeing there, completely normal for the Falcon 9 rocket. It's just condensation and liquid oxygen boil off there. We get this final vent, this big vent here of liquid oxygen. That's the final big vent
closeouts are starting.
That happens right around a minute and a half on every Falcon 9 launch. So that's this big venting that we're seeing here. That'll be the final big vent. And then I will go quiet here, like they did as well, but I wait a little bit longer. We'll go quiet as they get towards the end of the countdown here. We're going to launch. Hopefully they're going to launch. We'll watch Dragon deploy, and then stick around afterwards. We'll do some giveaways. It'll be kind of quick afterwards because I have to head out, but we're going to do some giveaways.
Startup. Dragon is in startup.
So here we go. Under a minute.
Go for launch.
Launch directors go for launch. Skies are looking
T-minus 30 seconds.
Photographers that are down there for this launch are going to hopefully have some amazing photos from this. It's the beautiful skies.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
There she goes. She's off.
T plus 40 seconds into today's flight. All systems looking nominal for today's mission. Dragon on its way to the International Space Station for its 19th Commercial Resupply Services mission.
Coming up on max Q here. This is where we had those 80 to 90 mile per hour winds today. They were 140
Coming up in
mile
about
per hour
20
yesterday.
seconds, we have max Q, our maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Vehicle
One of the
supersonic.
highest stress states on the vehicle. Just heard the call out that we passed through supersonic.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
With that, we just heard the call. We passed through max Q.
Recovery AOS.
It's the recovery ships, the acquisition of signal.
All 9 engines look good. Trajectory
Check
looks
engine
good. Coming up, we are going to have 4 events in rapid succession. It's going to be main engine cutoff, or Meco, followed by stage separation, then second engine start 1. That's the engine on our second stage, followed by the start of the boost back burn of our first stage.
Now, main engine cutoff today is about 2 minutes and 31 seconds, which is 13 seconds longer than they typically do for a CRS mission. Normally, that cutoff would be right about here for the CRS missions, but we're going to 2:31 today. So usually right around...
You're looking at a view of our first stage, looking aft.
So we would have normally cut off at this point and already had separation, but should get it.
There's a view
now.
inside the 2
Second.
stages as we wait for stage separation.
There's cutoff.
Meco.
You can see it turning around. First stage is going to do a short boost back.
Stage 1 boost back burn is starting.
And we just had a good main engine cutoff, a good stage separation. On the right side of your screen, you're seeing ignition of the second stage engine. It has about a 6-minute burn ahead. And then on the left side of your screen, that is a forward-looking view from our first stage, where the boost back burn has also started successfully. It's going to shut down here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, so it's a quick boost back burn, not as long as they typically do, because we're not going all the way back to Florida. So quick boost back burn, but they are still doing 3 burns.
Stage 1 boost back burn is shut down.
And then you just see on the tail of the
There's a
screen
nose
there
cone
from the
there.
second stage
Yeah.
camera, that was the nose cone from Dragon being deployed. The nose cone of Dragon being deployed means we've left a majority of Earth's atmosphere as we power, second stage powers Dragon to the International Space Station right now.
Stage 2 on
A whole
nominal
bunch of
trajectory.
debris floating around over here. Interesting.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
So hard to get perspective on this. Like, this could either be the tiniest little thing right in front of the camera, or it could be enormous and really far away from the camera.
In order to make its way back to our drone ship, of course I Still Love You, the first stage executes a series of 3 burns. The first is a boost back burn, which is meant to slow the rocket down and orient it for re-entry. It also helps Falcon 9 laterally return to the drone ship. Shortly after this first burn is initiated, the grid fins, which you saw earlier on the left side of your screen, they're located near the top of the first stage, are deployed to help guide the rocket during descent. Following the boost back burn, Falcon 9 executes its re-entry burn to slow itself down before hitting the dense part of the Earth's atmosphere. Lastly is the landing burn, which happens just before touchdown to take the booster softly down to the
Stage
drone
2
ship.
continues on nominal trajectory.
We are at T plus 5 minutes, and the second stage is on its way to drop off Dragon into its targeted orbit. As a reminder, the first stage had an on-time launch today at 12:29 p.m. Eastern Time, just a few minutes ago, and a nominal ascent. As I mentioned earlier, you see those grid fins deployed on the left side of your screen. As you see the first stage start angling back towards the Earth's atmosphere as it's going to get ready for that entry burn, which is our next main event to look out for.
Yep, so entry burn should be just shortly after 6 minutes. And then the second stage is going to go on until about 8.5 minutes is when the second stage will cut off. Then about 9.5 minutes is when Dragon actually separates here. So
in roughly 30 seconds or so from now, we expect to see that entry burn begin. So let's keep our eyes peeled.
So we should be getting entry burn here any second now.
Stage 2 continues on nominal trajectory.
So you just heard out a call out. Stage 2 is still on nominal ascent, taking Dragon to station.
We're just waiting for that entry burn to kick in here. Should kick in it.
Stage 1, entry burn is
There it
started.
is.
So you see on the left side of your screen, entry burn has begun. This should last just under 10 seconds, and we expect to see it shut down shortly.
Stage 1, entry burn shut down.
And there you hear the call out, entry burn is shut down. Next major event we're looking for in just under a minute or so is the landing burn to begin.
Yep, so that's also a pretty quick burn, just slowing it down enough as it re-enters the atmosphere so it doesn't completely just break apart as it re-enters. And then the actual landing here should be only
Stage
like a
2
minute away.
continues on nominal trajectory.
Probably less than a minute now. See if we get great video. We had awesome video for the last
Just about
landing.
30
Stage
seconds
one
or
is
so
shut down.
away for that landing burn to kick in. Let's keep watch.
Drone ship has AOS.
Oh no, drone ship has AOS, except not the video apparently.
Looks like we lost our feed on the left side of the screen with the first stage
man.
coming down.
Stage 1, landing burn is started.
Landing burn.
Just heard on the call out, we did get confirmation that landing burn has begun. Hopefully we can pick
where's
that
the
feed
video?
back up to see a landing.
Got nothing on landing. Nothing to see.
Acquisition
Oh.
signal, New Hampshire. Stage
on.
1, landing legs have deployed.
Ah, cut out. Come on.
Unfortunately, it looks like we have lost our feed for the booster landing. Oh, there it is. You hear the crowd behind me. Another successful landing. Congrats to the entire SpaceX team for another successful land. This marks our 20th successful first stage recovery. This secondary mission is an important part of our commitment to vehicle reusability.
I realized that the SpaceX broadcast volume is super high there. There we go. Good landing. That's what we wanted to see.
About
Wanted
another
to see better video.
5 or 10 seconds here, we're going to have the engine shut down. Merlin vacuum engine right now throttling down in preparation for shutdown. Standing by for shutdown of second stage engine, and then we'll have Dragon deployment about a minute after that.
Get back shut down.
There you go. There's shutdown. Stage 2
And
shutdown.
we have shutdown and confirmation of a good orbit.
Did we get confirmation? I didn't hear confirmation yet.
Second stage has one last major task, and that's commanding
Nominal orbit
separation of
insertion.
Dragon
There you
less
go.
than a minute
Nominal.
from now. We should have some video of the separation from Dragon from the top of second stage.
Dragon separation.
It'll give us a really nice view of Dragon's unpressurized cargo trunk, and we'll be able to follow the
Acquisition of signal near
spacecraft separation for about a minute after separation.
Now
There's that camera
separation-
view on your screen right now.
Yep. Separation should be probably about 10 seconds here.
Standing
or so.
by right now for Dragon deployment, and here the confirmation of that.
They did say nominal orbit insertion while he was talking. So.
At this stage in the mission, so far we're just coasting. Vehicle itself is doing some checkouts in preparation to gently separate Dragon from second stage. After that point in time, there you go. There's your live view of separation from Dragon. Carrying the HISUI, the spectral imager suite that's going to attach to the Japanese module, and then the station battery right next to it. Kind of on the top and bottom there, the flat sections, those are the solar array fairings which protected our solar arrays for ascent. We're now standing by for about 2 minutes from now where those solar array fairings will release and allow the solar arrays themselves to unfold.
So we're looking at, this is the trunk of the Dragon. It's unpressurized. They'll use the Canadarm to grab those out of the grab those items out of the trunk once it does dock to station. About 2 minutes, those solar arrays will come out.
Just under 2 minutes till we're going to have deployment of Dragon solar arrays. Dragon does need these solar arrays in order to finish its 3-day mission. We have some onboard batteries. We use the solar arrays to keep those batteries charged for the times when we're not in the sun. It allows us to keep the vehicle powered as we make our mission to the space station, our 3-day journey.
Now that second stage, now that it's separated, is actually going to continue on into a higher inclination orbit. So they're going to use the second stage.
And because the views go in and out, we are showing you a live map of the position of the vehicle. We don't always have the high data rate in order to transmit video from the second stage or from Dragon. And so instead we have animations to show you what you're looking at. Now, second stage itself is doing some slight pitching, and that's why you're seeing it look like Dragon is oriented different in that view from the forward end.
Right, so that second stage is pitching because they're going to change the orbital inclination for the second stage.
And on the left side of your screen, that's an
on.
inside view of the Dragon solar array fairings. That's the back side of one of the solar arrays. And on the right side, again, there's your ground track trajectory,
so
where the vehicle is.
Trying to get this out without talking over him, but second stage will go on to do that thermal demonstration, which is why we did a drone
After
ship
solar array
landing today.
separation, solar array deployment, about 2 hours after, we have our GNC bay door open. That's where our navigation sensors will be exposed to space, and they allow us to really understand our position relative to space, to Earth, and relative to the space station, and how we get from point A to point B. And there you have it on the left side of the screen. There's the solar array deployment as they gradually unfold. That's the back side of our solar arrays. It looks beautiful to see. Always a beautiful sight.
Dragon is deploying its solar arrays. Dragon's propulsion system is successfully primed and all thrusters ready for firing.
Perfect.
Dragon is now on its way to the space station. Over the next 2 days, Dragon will perform a series of orbital height adjust maneuvers with its Draco engines until it's within a few kilometers of the ISS. Then Dragon will establish a communications link with the ISS and will perform a series of checks on the vehicle. When both NASA and SpaceX are ready, we'll initiate a slow approach to the ISS, pausing at several checkpoints along the way to ensure crew safety. When Dragon is within 10 meters of the station, the astronauts aboard will capture the Dragon using the station's robotic Canadarm in a process known as berthing. Finally, Mission Control in Houston will send commands from the ground for the station's robotic arm to rotate and stall Dragon to the space station. Dragon will remain on station for about 30 days before returning to Earth with research and return cargo. So to recap today, we had an excellent on-time launch, a successful stage separation, a booster landing, and a great Dragon and solar array deploy. Dragon's arrival, capture, and installation to the space station will be streamed live starting on December 8th around 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time on NASA TV. Dragon will spend about 4 weeks attached to the space station before returning to Earth with cargo and research.
That's going to end our live launch coverage for today, but we'll be posting mission updates on NASA and SpaceX's social media accounts. We want to give a big thanks to the range and the FAA for their support today. And finally, we want to most importantly thank you, the viewers, for joining us. Until next time, have an awesome rest of your day.
All right, so there we go. That's the end of our the end of the SpaceX launch today. Successful launch, successful landing, successful deployment of the Dragon capsule. All around, looks pretty awesome. So Tyler says, I want to clarify something here on the what they said at the end, especially since Tyler's asking about it. Says, I thought it docks itself. So the one that docks itself is the Crew Dragon. This is not Crew Dragon. This is Cargo Dragon or Dragon 1. That cannot dock itself. That has to be berthed to the International Space Station, meaning that the Canadarm will grab it and pull it and attach it to the space station. It does not actually dock itself. The Crew Dragon, Dragon 2, which flew only one time to the space station last March, that will dock itself. It did dock itself back in March. and that will dock itself for all the crew missions. They can still, the crews there, they can control it. For the most part, it's completely automated, but the crew can step in and control it if necessary during the docking process. But yeah, Cargo Dragon, which we just saw today, does not dock itself. So yeah, everything was very good there. We're going to do some giveaways here in just a moment for a couple of beach balls. Now stage 2, I tried to mention this while he was talking, but stage 2 is going to go on and do a thermal demonstration. What that means is they're going to boost it to a higher inclination orbit, which is what they were getting prepared for towards the end of the broadcast there. Then they are going to let it coast for the next 6 hours. So it'll coast for, I think it's actually like 5.5 hours, but we'll call it 6 hours for simplicity's sake. They'll coast for 6 hours. Then they're going to actually do a deorbit burn. Normally, what they would do after, if this was a real geostationary Earth orbit mission, they'd coast for those 6 hours and then do a circularization burn to put the payload into geostationary Earth orbit. But this is just a demonstration that the second stage could do that. And so they don't really need to get into geostationary orbit. They just have to demonstrate that the second stage could, in fact, relight after a 6-hour coast. So they're going to wait for 6 hours, and then they're going to do a deorbit burn after those 6 hours, light the engine, and then bring it back and have it burn up in the atmosphere, and probably some of it will crash into the ocean. So that's what Gordon's asking. What did you mean about the future of the second stage mission? Yeah, so that second stage, and that's the reason why today they landed on the drone ship. Typically, a CRS mission would turn around and land back at the launch site. They do a return to launch site landing for any of these resupply missions because they have plenty of fuel left to do that. But they could not do that today because they needed extra fuel in the second stage to do this thermal demonstration mission. And they are going to, so they burned the first stage 13 seconds longer than normal to use more fuel in the first stage and save fuel in the second stage. And then they did the landing on the drone ship, and that second stage is, they're obviously not going to show that to us, but the second stage, oh, my beach ball's flying all over the place. The second stage is going to go on and do a little bit of a internal mission. And really what that's for, they said that they have future customers that are interested in this capabilities, which, I mean, geostationary Earth orbit is a very common thing for communication satellites, but everybody is kind of theorizing that the future customers are people like the U.S. Air Force and the National Reconnaissance Office, which typically send their high-value, super top-secret payloads. They've sent those on Delta IV rockets in the past, and the Delta IV is retiring, and SpaceX is trying to sneak their way into this process here and say, hey, Air Force, National NRO, we can do that too. Let us demonstrate that our Falcon 9 could get your payload into a geostationary Earth orbit. Now you might think, well, they do geostationary orbits all the time with the Falcon 9. Falcon 9 actually does geostationary transfer orbits, usually, not geostationary Earth, direct geostationary Earth orbits. The difference being, I've showed this a couple times on our broadcast, but just in case you have not seen it, let's see, let's hide this. Let's go to here. So this is what we're talking about for the second stage. Typically, the Falcon 9, if there's a satellite that needs to go to geostationary Earth orbit, the Falcon 9 will put the satellite into that green orbit there. That's the geostationary transfer orbit. So Falcon 9 will drop it off into that green orbit, and then it's up to the spacecraft itself, the satellite, to have its own onboard propulsion system. And when it gets to the peak, I guess it's like right here. When it gets to right here, the satellite itself will have its own engines, and it'll reignite here. And when they reignite, it'll put it along this. This is really hard to do in reverse. It'll put it along this dotted line here. This is geostationary Earth orbit. So the satellite will actually do that itself. What the second stage is trying to demonstrate today is that Falcon 9 could actually do that for the satellite. So that means satellites don't have to have their own onboard propulsion systems, or they would have just minimal propulsion systems to do in-orbit maneuvering. Or if they have the same propulsion systems, they can conserve all that fuel to do in-orbit maneuvering, which is really beneficial for like national reconnaissance missions, because they adjust their orbits all the time so that they can look at a specific target on the Earth. And so if they can conserve all their fuel, then they can either do more of those adjustments, or they can save some of that fuel and extend the lifetime of the mission. Or some of them just may not have those they may not include propulsion systems at all. So that's the big benefit. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing with stage 2 here today. So, all right. Well, I've got about 10 minutes before I have to wrap up, because I've got someplace that I have to be today. But before we wrap up here, we're going to do a couple of giveaways. I want to give away 2 of our beach balls here. And the reason, I figure I ought to tell you the reason, but the reason is it's in honor of our 1-year anniversary of the water landing for CRS-19. So just in case you are not aware, do I still have those videos up here somewhere? I think I do. Yeah, so just in case you are not aware or missed it from earlier, today is exactly 1 year since the CRS-19 mission failed in its landing. Had a grid fin, the grid fin way over there on the side, locked over in the side position, caused the Falcon 9 to spin uncontrollably or roll uncontrollably like that, and it ended up doing a water landing. Today, it was exactly 1 year from the day, so I figured since it's a 1-year anniversary from our water landing, we should give away some beach balls, right? I don't know, it seemed to make sense to me. And I know these are technically not SpaceX beach balls. These are Parker Solar Probe beach balls, which was launched by United Launch Alliance on the Delta IV Heavy rocket. So competing space company, but I figure, why not? Who doesn't like a beach ball, right? So we're going to give away 2 of those today. And in order to do that, if you want to enter into the giveaway, you got to head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/OLHZN. You got to find this video and you got to put in a comment. But don't do it yet because I haven't started tracking comments. I mean, you can. Let me push track comment. There we go. Okay, so now it's on. So basically, any comments starting now will get you an entry into the giveaway here. So we'll try to delay here for a couple of minutes while people get their comments in. But head over to youtube.com/OLHCN. Go to this video, and you just have to comment in the live chat, and you'll be entered to give it away. So say hello. I don't know. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what you think, what you thought about the launch. Tell me what you think about the in-flight abort not being until February 2020. That was kind of a interesting development there that I thought. So you let me know what you think about that. And then I have to wait. There's this awkward time period because you're hearing my voice about 30 seconds after I actually say it. There's about a 30-second delay between when I say it and when you hear it. So I don't want to pick a winner too early, because then you might be hearing me telling you to put in a comment and I've already picked the winner. So we try to do it. But anyways, it's a beach ball that's going out, Parker Solar Probe. The Parker Solar Probe, in case you're not familiar, is this little probe here where is it? Right here. This little probe, and it is studying the sun. That's why the beach ball kind of looks like the sun. This is studying the sun. It's the closest man-made object that we've ever sent to the sun. Has all kinds of special heat shielding and even special wiring to make sure that it doesn't, I guess I don't need my earpiece anymore, to make sure that it doesn't burn up when it approaches the sun. It's doing, I think, 7 total passes, and the 7th pass will be the closest one. And it just keeps getting closer and closer with each pass. I believe it's done, I think it's done 2 or 3 passes at this point. I should probably keep up with it a little bit more, but it's done about 2 or 3 passes at this point. So I should also mention, Gregorius always looks this up for me. I really should memorize this, but there are rules to the giveaway. I don't like that there's rules. I wish I could just give it away to whoever commented, but there are rules because there are legal requirements to give away free stuff. And those legal requirements mean that in order to win the giveaway, you have to be in the US, Canada, the European Union, or the United Kingdom. Those 4 eligibility areas, and then there's a couple exceptions. It's like Quebec, I want to say Quebec, France, somewhere else. I should really memorize those. But there's a link in the description with all the official rules. You got to be in one of the eligibility areas. We can't get in trouble legally. Who knew there were laws to give away free stuff? But there are laws. So anyways, as long as you're in the eligibility area and Nightbot picks you. Oh no, not the rules. Yeah, sorry. We're going to use Nightbot. Nightbot's going to pick the winner. And we're going to do that now. Please vote Space Lobster 2020. I like this. I could get on board with this campaign. Okay, so we will give away the first beach ball here now. I'll pull up my... Thank you, Gregorius. There's the exceptions. Quebec, France, Sweden, and Italy. I'm going to remember this. I need to come up with like an acronym so I can remember all the exceptions. Quebec, France, Sweden, and Italy. You can't win there because their laws are too restrictive for me, so they have to be excluded. And there. All right, so we only got a couple minutes, so I got to give these away here. So first one coming up, Parker Solar Probe, and thanks to United Launch Alliance for donating these to our nonprofit here. So Parker Solar Probe giveaway number 1 is going to... There we go. It's going to Roger. Roger, you've won giveaway number 1. There's one beach ball going to Roger. Now, in order to get the beach ball, what you got to do is you got to send me a direct message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We also have a TikTok account now. I don't really know how to use TikTok, but we got one of those, and I think you can send us messages there if that's your thing. But yeah, you send me a direct message. The easiest one, if you have Twitter, that's the one I'm most active on. So you can send me a direct message on Twitter, and I need your address. Just tell me what your address is, where you want me to send it. As long as the address is in the eligibility areas, then it's yours. So there you go, Roger. Send me a direct message, and that one's yours. All right, giveaway number 2. We're going to do the same thing. We're giving away 2 of these because I have a million of them, and we're going to do 2 of them. They're kind of expensive to ship, so I can't do too many at a time. But yeah, here we go. Giveaway number 2 is going to go to... I need one of those for the top of my Christmas tree. That would be kind of interesting. Okay, giveaway number 2. Roll it. There we go. Giveaway number 2 is going to go to Matt Latte. You got a giveaway number 2. You're the second winner to our beach ball there. You send me that direct message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Matt Parkinson. Matt, I guess I should just say Matt P. Probably shouldn't. But Matt is making fun of us for having a TikTok account. I don't know how to use TikTok. I just have an account. I was like, what is this thing? But I don't know. It's kind of fun now. But anyways, yeah, we got one of those TikTok machines, so you can send us a message on TikTok too. Oh, the internet. Anyways, when are we going back to the moon? I heard they don't have the technology. What happened? That's a long discussion for us to get into here today, but NASA is going to go to the moon by 2024 in theory. SpaceX wants to land on the moon by 2023, I think they said, with Starship. So we'll see who gets there first. When will Dragon touch the space station? The Dragon docking is in a couple, is it tomorrow? When is the Dragon docking? Saturday. Saturday is a Dragon docking. So it will be a Dragon birthing, Dragon capture on Saturday. I won't be able to live broadcast that, unfortunately, but it will. It's going to dock to or capture. It'll be captured by the space station on Saturday is when it'll actually get there, and then it's going to stay there for like 30 days before it comes home with cargo. So, will the beach balls be sent deflated? Yes, I do have to send them deflated, so you won't get this one in particular. I already have some that are pre-packaged and ready to go. So yeah, those two winners definitely send me that direct message, and they'll be going to you and to the people that won on the last broadcast. I haven't sent those out yet. I didn't forget about you. I have them. They're right. They're not right here in front of me. Where are they? They're somewhere on my desk here. Can't find. I got too many wires here. You guys can't see them, but I have too many wires. But I didn't forget about you. They're all packaged. They got everybody's name on them. I have all the winners. They all contacted me, so we're good to go. If you won, I got your message. They'll be going out. All these, the beach balls and those, hopefully be going out later next week. So there. Did we miss anything? I think I covered everything, but we've said it all. I think said all we have to say. I do have to kind of wrap up quickly here today, but I'll check for any final comments here before we wrap up. But let's see. If you send them filled with helium, will it be cheaper? That would be kind of interesting, but I don't think I could. I don't think we could. I don't think the post office would like that, because then it would be larger. That would be kind of interesting. I wonder if you threw enough helium in this, if it would be enough to support the weight of this. I imagine that it would. It's not very heavy. It's just like pretty thin vinyl. Would be kind of interesting to see if you could put helium in it and if it would go away. I don't really want to lose one because that would probably be problematic, but it'd be kind of funny. Gordon says, thanks for today. Thanks, Gordon, for hanging out. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. I appreciate everybody joining us on the broadcast here today. Whether you're on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, or Twitch, we're all hanging out, having a good time watching the liftoff. I thought it went pretty well today. Let's see. We should go to Titan. I think that would be awesome. That would be fantastic. Gotta love the internet. I think that's Matt talking about my TikTok account. I'm still trying to learn how to use TikTok. At some point I might, because I find it silly and that seems right up my alley. I could get into that. No, the smaller an object is, the more it cannot support itself filled with helium. Interesting. Could be. It sounds like an interesting experiment. I don't have anything. I don't have a adapter small enough to try to fill this with helium though. All I have is like a regular balloon inflator for like party balloons, and then I have like a big balloon inflator for like our weather balloons. I got lots of helium, but I have no way to get the helium into here. I have to get some sort of adapter or something that I could send it right into there. D. Ritter, thanks for explaining things. Yeah, thanks for hanging out as always. You guys and your questions and comments. That's what makes things really interesting here as we're hanging out. Sneezy and Conrado, thanks for all the kind words. So yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here for today because, like I said, I do have some place to be. I was planning on ending like 2 minutes ago, but I wanted to make sure that I got to any of the comments just to make sure that I said hello and read what you guys all had to say. There's a Mythbusters episode about it, but it's a lead balloon. Yeah, this is not lead. This is pretty light. I have a feeling you could get enough helium in here to support the weight of this thin vinyl. I think it could be done. Now it sounds like a challenge. All right. Well, that's going to do it here for me. We got lots more. We got a lot more launches coming up for this month. It looks like In-Flight Abort is out for this month. That is moved on to February, but we do have the Boeing launch for the demonstration mission that's coming up in a couple of weeks. I do want to live broadcast that as long as it doesn't have a conflict with something. It was getting pretty close to something that I had a conflict with. I can't remember what it was, but oh yeah, as long as it's not on the 20th. I got something going on the 20th, but yeah, we've I think right now it's scheduled for the 19th, so we'll do a live broadcast for the Boeing launch. And then SpaceX also has another launch coming up. That's JCSat, which is scheduled for, who knows the date that JCSat is scheduled for. It's pretty close, the same time as the Boeing thing, right? Let's see. JCSat scheduled for December 15th. So actually that's coming up first, and then the Boeing, and then Rocket Lab also has a launch coming up that's like tomorrow, I think, like tomorrow morning, like in a couple hours from now. Rocket Labs is 13 hours from now, so that's like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So it's like 13 hours from now. I can't live broadcast that one either, but there we got a ton of launches. Rocket Lab tomorrow, SpaceX the 15th, Boeing the 19th, I believe. So we'll have a lot going on that you guys can all check out. So anyways, all right, we will see you guys all on the next broadcast, which the next one that I plan to do will be that SpaceX JCSat mission on the 15th. So hopefully we don't have any issues with that, and we'll see you guys all on the 15th, right? Okay. All right, thanks everybody for joining. My name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon, and hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. All right, thanks everybody. See ya.